The jungle was alive with sound. Birds called from the high trees. Insects buzzed, and the heavy air carried the smell of earth and rain. Aaron walked carefully on the narrow path, his eyes scanning the ruins ahead. The Mayan stones were half covered in moss and vines, yet their carvings still spoke of ancient stories. He had studied these ruins for years, but today something felt different. Aaron was not alone. With him were his two close friends, Mira and Thomas. Mira carried a small device, an old scanner borrowed from their university. It beeped softly as she moved closer to the central temple. Thomas followed behind, his backpack full of ropes, tools, and food. The three of them had traveled deep into the jungle to find what the old legends called the Hidden Palace. For months, Aaron had followed the strange signal. It was faint, repeating every few hours like a steady heartbeat. At first, he thought it was interference from satellites, but the signal was too regular and too precise. He traced it again and again, and each time it led him back to the same temple. The local guides had warned him not to go deeper, saying the place was cursed, but Aaron did not believe in curses. He believed in mysteries, and mysteries demanded answers. As they reached the base of the temple, Mira stopped. The scanner beeped louder now. She checked the small screen and frowned. The signal is stronger here. It is not natural. It is coming from under the temple. Aaron's heart raced. For years he had dreamed of such a discovery. If the signal truly came from below, then there must be something hidden under the stone floors. He touched the rough surface of the ancient steps. They were cool under his hand, and he wondered who had last walked here when the temple was alive with priests and kings. Thomas looked uneasy. He shifted the straps of his pack and glanced at the thick forest behind them. We should be careful. The locals say people vanish in these ruins. Maybe they are right. Aaron smiled slightly, though his own nerves were on edge. People vanish because they stop searching. We came here for answers, and answers are waiting below. Let us trust the signal. They climbed the steps, the vines brushing against their legs, and entered the dark doorway of the temple. Inside, the air was cooler, filled with the scent of damp stone. Shafts of sunlight broke through cracks in the roof, painting golden lines across the carvings on the walls. The carvings showed warriors, kings, and stars above their heads. Aaron ran his hand along the wall, tracing the lines. He had studied Mayan astronomy, and he recognized the constellations. But one carving puzzled him. It showed a palace floating in the sky, beams of light stretching down to the earth. Mira raised the scanner again, and the beeping grew sharper. She pointed toward the floor. It is strongest here. Something is beneath us. Aaron knelt down. The stones were arranged in a circle. In the center there was a faint crack, almost invisible, as if the stone was not fixed but a hidden door. He tapped it gently, and the hollow sound confirmed his thought. His excitement grew. This is it. The palace is not only a legend. It is here under the temple. Thomas crouched beside him, still doubtful. If it is true, then why has no one found it before us? Aaron looked around at the silent chamber. Dust drifted in the light, and the carvings seemed to watch them. He felt as if the temple itself had waited for them, keeping its secrets safe until the right time. Maybe no one listened to the signal. Maybe the palace chooses when to reveal itself. The three of them worked together. Thomas used his tools to pry at the edges of the stone, while Mira kept the scanner steady, guiding them to the exact spot. After long minutes, the heavy slab shifted with a groan, revealing a dark passage below. Cold air rose from it, carrying the scent of age and mystery. They stood at the edge of the opening, staring into the shadow. The faint sound of the signal now echoed from below, steady and calm like a voice calling from the deep earth. Mira's eyes widened. It is real. Something is alive down there. Aaron felt a shiver run through him, but his resolve hardened. He had not come all this way to turn back now. This is the beginning, he whispered. We are about to step into history. One by one, they lowered themselves into the passage, their lamps cutting through the darkness. The stone walls were smooth, almost too smooth for ancient tools. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the surface, as if painted with light instead of color. The deeper they went, the louder the signal became. No longer just a sound from the scanner, but a vibration they could feel in their bones. Aaron could not shake the thought that they were not just discovering ruins. They were entering a place that was still alive. A palace hidden for centuries, waiting for those who dared to seek it. The tunnel bent downward, drawing them into the unknown. Each step echoed with the weight of history and the promise of discovery. Aaron knew their lives would never be the same again. The jungle above remained loud and restless, but deep below, the hidden palace waited in silence. And within that silence, the gold of the lost dynasty called to them. The tunnel grew wider as Arun, Mira, and Thomas walked deeper below the temple. Their lamps cast long beams of light on the smooth stone walls. Unlike the rough blocks above, these walls looked shaped by careful hands, almost polished. Strange patterns ran across them, glowing faintly as if they held their own light. The air was cooler now, carrying a metallic scent that was unlike the damp jungle. Arun touched one of the glowing patterns. It pulsed gently beneath his fingers like the steady beat of a heart. He drew his hand back in surprise. This is not paint. The wall is alive with energy. Mira moved closer and studied the design. It looked like lines of gold running through the stone, yet it was far too perfect, too even to be natural. It reacts when you touch it, she whispered. This is no ordinary chamber. The builders knew something far beyond what we understand. Thomas adjusted the strap of his pack. His face showed both fear and wonder. If this place was built by the Mayans, then how did they do this? No tools of their time could shape walls like this. Aaron looked at the glowing lines again and shook his head slowly. Maybe the Mayans did not build this alone. Maybe they found it, or maybe they were guided. The tunnel ended in a vast underground chamber. Their lamps lit only part of it, but even that was enough to leave them speechless. The walls curved upward into a dome so high it disappeared into shadow. Pillars of shining gold rose from the floor, each carved with symbols that shimmered faintly in the dim light. In the center stood a wide platform, its surface covered with more glowing lines. Mira gasped. It looks like a palace beneath the earth. Arun stepped forward slowly, his heart racing. The gold pillars seemed to hum softly, though no wind moved through the chamber. He felt as if they had entered not only a room but a living heart. They walked across the floor. Each step echoed strangely, as if the stone carried the sound further than it should. The platform in the center drew their eyes. On it, the glowing lines formed a great circle filled with patterns like stars. Arun bent down to study them. His breath caught. They were not random designs. They were constellations. These are star maps, Aaron said in awe. Look here, Mira, this is Orion, and here is the Pleiades. These maps are too accurate to be made without knowledge of the sky far beyond what was known in their time. Mira knelt beside him and traced one of the glowing lines. If these are maps, then they are not only of the Earth's sky. Look at this cluster. I have never seen it before. Aaron stared at the strange cluster. The stars shown there were not part of any chart he had studied. Could it be a map to another world? Thomas circled the chamber uneasily. If this is a map to the stars, then who made it? Why would it be hidden under the jungle? Aaron rose to his feet and looked at the golden pillars. They stood like silent guardians around the platform. He thought of the old Mayan legends that spoke of gods who came from the sky. Perhaps those stories were not myths after all. Perhaps they were memories. Mira held up the scanner again. The signal was strong here, almost filling the chamber with a steady rhythm. The source is below the platform, she said. Whatever is sending the signal, it is under us. They searched the platform carefully. Aaron found a small depression in the stone, shaped like a handprint. He hesitated, then placed his palm against it. At once the platform glowed brighter. The lines of light spread outward in a wave, racing across the floor and up the golden pillars. The chamber filled with soft golden light, and the hum grew stronger. Mira cried out in amazement. It is alive. The whole chamber is waking. The glowing lines above formed patterns in the air, floating like stars pulled from the sky. They rotated slowly, showing worlds, moons, and shining paths between them. Aaron stood frozen, his eyes wide. This was no simple temple. It was a machine of knowledge. Thomas shielded his eyes from the glow. Aaron, what have you done? What if we cannot turn it off? But Aaron could not move. His mind raced with the meaning of what he saw. The Mayans had spoken of a hidden palace of gold, a gift from their gods. This chamber was that palace, and its maps, its light, its strange energy, all pointed to a truth larger than Earth itself. The light grew softer, then settled into a steady glow. The floating star maps hung in the air like a silent message. Aaron slowly lowered his hand, and the patterns held, waiting. Mira's voice was quiet but filled with awe. This is not only a palace. It is a library. It remembers the stars. It remembers those who came before. Aaron looked at her and nodded. And now it waits for us. It is calling to us through the signal. The question is, why now? Why us? The chamber stood silent yet alive, as if listening. Aaron felt a strange weight in his chest, a mix of fear and wonder. They had come in search of treasure, but what they found was knowledge. A hidden palace built not only of gold but of memory, power and secrets meant for humankind to discover when the time was right. Above them, the jungle roared with life, unaware of the secret below. But in the golden chamber, 3 explorers stood at the edge of a discovery that would change not only their lives, but perhaps the destiny of all humanity. The golden chamber was quiet, yet the air seemed alive. Aaron, Mira, and Thomas stood close together on the central platform, watching the floating star maps turn slowly above them. The glowing lines shimmered like fireflies trapped in the air. None of them spoke for a long time. They were afraid to break the silence, as if the palace itself was listening. Then, without warning, the glow shifted. The stars folded into new shapes, forming the outline of a tall figure. The image was made of light, yet it looked almost real. Its body was long and graceful, its face neither fully human nor fully alien. Eyes like shining gold stared down at the 3 explorers. Thomas gasped and took a step back. "What is that? Is it alive?" Mira held her breath. "It looks like a projection, some kind of recording. But it feels..." "Where?" Aaron stood firm, his heart pounding. The figure raised its hand and the chamber filled with a low hum. When it spoke, the voice was strange, like many tones blended together. The words were broken, yet clear enough to understand. "Children of Earth," the voice said slowly, "you have entered the palace of the lost dynasty. Long have we guarded this place. Few may see it. Fewer may hear the warning." Aaron swallowed hard. His throat was dry, but he forced himself to answer. "Who are you? What is this place?" The figure's golden eyes flickered and the patterns in the air shifted into images. They saw vast cities of shining towers, ships that sailed between the stars, and people walking beneath suns unknown to Earth. The voice continued. "We were the dynasty. Long ago we ruled among the stars. Our power was great, but pride brought ruin. Worlds fell and fire consumed our empire. Only fragments remain hidden across the galaxy. This palace is one such fragment. It was placed here in the care of your ancestors." Mira's eyes widened. She whispered, "So the Mayans did not build it alone. They were chosen as keepers." The figure's gaze seemed to rest on her, as if hearing her thought. "Yes, they were chosen as you are chosen now. But hear this warning. The palace holds knowledge and power. It must never be used with greed. If you awaken its heart without wisdom, you will bring the same destruction that ended us." The hum grew louder, and the golden pillars shook slightly, as if the chamber itself agreed with the warning. Aaron felt the weight of the words press upon him. He thought of the shining maps, the living gold, and the secrets that could change the world. He also thought of how easily such power could destroy it. Thomas spoke with fear in his voice. "If it is so dangerous, then why call us here at all? Why not leave it hidden forever?" The figure turned slowly, its glowing form rising taller. The air shimmered with new images, this time of Earth itself. Continents shifted, light spread across the surface, and humans filled the lands. "Because the time has come," the voice said. "Humanity grows. Soon you will walk among the stars. This palace is both gift and trial. You must prove worthy. If you choose greed, you will fall as we fell. If you choose wisdom, you will rise." Mira's voice trembled. "What trial? What do we have to do?" The figure faded slightly, its edges blurring like smoke. "The palace will test you. It will know your heart. Only those who respect the gift may walk its deeper paths. Fail, and the palace will close forever." The projection dimmed until only the star maps remained, spinning silently in the air. The hum softened, but the weight of the words stayed heavy in the chamber. Aaron exhaled slowly. His mind swirled with questions. Were they really chosen? Could 3 ordinary explorers decide the fate of something so ancient? He looked at Mira and Thomas. Their faces showed fear, but also wonder. Mira broke the silence. "If this place holds the truth of the stars, then we cannot leave it. We must understand it, even if it tests us." Thomas shook his head. "And what if the test destroys us? What if we awaken something we cannot control?" Aaron placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. "The choice is before us, whether we want it or not. The palace is awake now. We cannot pretend we did not see. If we leave, others may come, and they may not be ready. It is better we face the trial ourselves." The chamber seemed to echo his words. The golden lines on the floor glowed brighter, spreading toward a new opening at the far side of the dome. A passage revealed itself, leading deeper into the earth. The palace was calling them forward. Mira looked at Arun. "It heard you. It is waiting for us." Arun felt his pulse quicken. The warning of the guardian still rang in his ears. Knowledge and power lay ahead, but so did danger. The palace would not give its secrets freely. They had stepped into history, and now history demanded their answer. He tightened the strap of his pack and took a deep breath. "Then we go forward. But we go with respect. Whatever we find, we must remember the warning. This palace is not ours to take. It is ours to protect." The three of them walked toward the new passage. Behind them, the star maps faded slowly, leaving the chamber in soft golden light. Ahead, the path grew darker, filled with mystery and challenge. The guardian's voice echoed faintly one last time, a whisper that followed them as they stepped into the unknown. "Choose wisely, children of Earth. The fate of tomorrow walks with you." The passage ahead was narrow and steep, sloping deeper into the earth. Arun, Mira, and Thomas walked carefully, their lamps casting long shadows on the walls. Unlike the first tunnel, this one was brighter, glowing softly as if light came from the stone itself. The walls were lined with veins of gold that pulsed gently, almost like they were alive. Mira stopped to touch the surface. The golden lines grew brighter under her hand, spreading like ripples in water. She pulled back quickly, her eyes wide. "It reacts to touch. The gold is not just decoration. It feels alive." Arun studied the strange veins. They were smooth, warm, and seemed to breathe with a quiet rhythm. He thought of the guardian's warning. This was the heart of the palace, and every wall carried its power. "This is not treasure," he said. "This gold has a purpose. It is part of the palace itself." Thomas looked uneasy. "But gold does not live. It cannot breathe." "Maybe it is not only gold," Arun replied. "It could be something far beyond what we know. A material of the lost dynasty." As they walked further, the tunnel opened into another chamber. This one was smaller than the first, but more intense. The floor was a perfect circle, covered in lines that glowed with shifting colors. At the center stood a tall column of gold, smooth as glass. It pulsed with light like a giant heart beating in silence. Arun felt drawn to it. He stepped closer, and the glow brightened as if it recognized him. The column released a low hum that filled the chamber. Images flickered in the air again. Maps, symbols, and shapes that twisted and reformed. This time the symbols hovered closer, circling around Arun. Mira's voice trembled. "It knows you. It responds to you more than to us." Arun reached out his hand. The moment his fingers touched the surface, the column pulsed. A shock of warmth spread through his arm, but it was not painful. Instead, it felt like energy flowing into him. Symbols of light rose into the air, forming patterns that hovered between him and his friends. He gasped softly. The patterns were not random. They showed star systems, strange worlds, and ancient palaces floating among the stars. Then the images shifted again, showing people, humans, standing beside the golden figures of the dynasty. The humans looked smaller, weaker, but they were present. It was as if the lost dynasty had always been watching Earth, guiding its people. Mira stepped closer, her eyes full of awe. "It is showing us history. The dynasty visited Earth. They left this palace behind, and maybe they chose humans to continue their legacy." Arun felt his heart race. The column seemed alive, aware, as if it was testing him. It gave him visions not only of the past, but of possible futures. He saw Earth filled with light, humans building ships that touched the stars. Then he saw another vision, darker. Cities burning, the sky torn apart, golden fire consuming all. The images faded, leaving only the steady glow of the column. Arun staggered back, his mind heavy with what he had seen. "It shows us what can be, a choice. A path of wisdom or a path of destruction." Thomas frowned deeply. "And it chose you to see this?" "Why you?" Arun shook his head. "I do not know. Maybe because I touched it first. Maybe because it needed someone to carry its message. But this palace does not belong to me. It belongs to all of us and to the future of humanity." The gold veins in the walls pulsed brighter, as if agreeing. Mira reached out carefully and touched the column too, but the reaction was gentler. Symbols appeared, but they were smaller, softer, as though her connection was different. She smiled faintly. "It responds, but not the same way. It sees Arun as the key." Thomas looked troubled. "If this is true, then what happens when others come? Not everyone will respect the palace. Some will want the gold for wealth, not wisdom. What then?" Arun remembered the guardian's words. The palace would test those who entered. Greed would awaken danger. He knew Thomas was right. If word of this place spread, others would come with hunger in their hearts. And the palace would not stay silent forever. The column pulsed again, and the floor beneath them shifted slightly. The glowing lines rearranged themselves into new patterns. A doorway opened on the far side of the chamber, leading into even deeper passages. Aaron steadied himself. The palace is guiding us forward. It is not finished with us yet. Mira nodded, though her face was pale with both fear and wonder. Each step takes us deeper into its secrets, but each step also tests us more. Thomas sighed heavily. Then we must be ready. If we fail, this palace will bury us. The three of them stood in silence for a moment, listening to the hum of the golden heart. Aaron placed his hand on the column one last time. He felt the faintest whisper, not in sound but in thought, a voice telling him to walk carefully, to remember the warning. They left the chamber and entered the new passage. Behind them, the golden column continued to pulse, alive and watchful. Ahead, the air grew colder, and the glow of the walls dimmed into shadow. The palace was leading them deeper into its trials, and Aaron knew the next step would be harder than all the ones before. The gold that breathed had shown them visions of glory and ruin. Now it waited to see which path humanity would choose. The deeper passage was colder and darker. The golden glow of the walls had faded, replaced by heavy stone. Aaron, Mira, and Thomas walked in silence, each lost in thought about the visions they had seen in the chamber of the golden column. The palace was not just treasure. It was alive, a keeper of both history and warning. As they moved forward, Mira stopped suddenly. She tilted her head and whispered, "Do you hear that?" Aaron listened. Faint echoes reached them, voices, footsteps, and the clatter of equipment. It was not their own sound. Someone else was in the palace. Thomas gritted his teeth. It cannot be. We came here alone, but the truth was clear. Other people had followed them into the ruins. The jungle above was wide, yet news always found a way to spread. Perhaps someone had noticed their expedition, or perhaps the signal itself had drawn others. The voices grew louder. Lamps flickered in the distance, and soon shadows moved on the wall ahead. A group of men appeared, carrying heavy packs and tools. At their front walked Rafi, a rival explorer known for his ambition and greed. Harun had seen him before in city archives, always chasing gold and fame. Rafi's eyes lit up when he saw Harun and his friends. So it was true. You found something hidden here. I knew if I followed your trail it would lead me to treasure. Aaron stood firm, though his heart sank. This is no place for greed, Rafi. The palace is not ordinary. It is dangerous, Rafi laughed sharply. Dangerous or not, gold is gold. Look at these walls. Even a small piece would make a man rich for life. I will not leave empty-handed. His men spread through the passage, their tools ready to break stone and pry at the golden veins. The walls pulsed faintly as if disturbed by their presence. Aaron remembered the Guardian's warning. Greed would awaken danger. Mira stepped forward, her voice steady. This palace is alive. It is testing us. If you harm it, it will fight back. Rafi's eyes narrowed. Spare me your stories. These are just old ruins, legends to scare children. I will take what I came for. He ordered his men to strike at the walls. The sound of metal against stone echoed harshly. At once the chamber shuddered. The floor trembled beneath their feet. The golden lines flared bright, then shifted violently. The palace was awake. Pillars moved like living things, sliding across the floor to block paths. Heavy stone doors sealed shut with deep groans. From hidden openings in the walls, shapes began to emerge. They were tall stone figures carved like warriors, their eyes glowing with golden fire. Thomas stumbled back in fear. The Guardians. The palace has released its protectors. Rafi froze for a moment, then raised his tool like a weapon. Break them. They are only stone. But the Guardians moved with speed far faster than stone should move. Their heavy arms swung like hammers, sending men flying across the chamber. Rafi's team shouted in panic, their greed now replaced with terror. Aaron grabbed Mira and Thomas. This way. The palace is guiding us. We must move. As the Guardians struck at Rafi's men, Aaron noticed lines of light forming along the floor, leading toward a narrow opening at the side of the chamber. He trusted the palace and ran toward it with his friends. The golden lines lit their way, almost pulling them forward. Behind them, the sound of battle shook the air. Rafi shouted angrily, refusing to retreat, his voice echoing with desperation. This gold is mine. I will not leave without it. But his words were drowned by the roar of collapsing stone. The palace shifted its walls, closing him inside. Aaron glanced back only once, seeing Raffi trapped among the guardians, still fighting for treasure that would never belong to him. The three explorers pushed through the glowing passage. The air grew warmer again, filled with the hum of the palace. They stumbled into another chamber, smaller and quieter, as the door behind them sealed with a solid thud. Mira leaned against the wall, her face pale. The palace punished them. It knows the difference between respect and greed. Tomas shook his head slowly, and it gave us a path to safety. It chose us again. Aaron looked back at the sealed doorway. He felt no joy in Raffi's fate, only a heavy sadness. The Guardian's warning was true. This place is not for those who seek wealth. It is for those who seek understanding. Raffi did not listen, and the palace decided. The chamber they had entered was calm, but the golden glow on the walls pulsed steadily, as if waiting. Aaron stepped toward the center where another platform stood. The surface glowed with soft light, different from the violent flares of the last chamber. He placed his hand upon it. The floor lit up in a spiral and new symbols appeared. This time they were not only maps or visions. They showed shapes of puzzles, trials, and paths. The palace was preparing something greater. Mira's eyes widened. It is the beginning of the trial. The palace wants to see if we are worthy. Aaron nodded slowly. He felt the truth in her words. The warning has passed. Now comes the test. The golden lines shifted again, opening another passage ahead. A cool wind flowed from it, carrying the smell of ancient stone mixed with something unfamiliar, something metallic. The three of them gathered their strength. Behind them, greed had been punished. Ahead, the trial of humanity awaited. Aaron took the first step into the passage, his voice steady though his heart was heavy. We walk not for gold, but for tomorrow. The passage ahead was narrower, but Aaron, Mira, and Thomas felt no fear now. They had seen the palace's power, its living gold, and its guardians. They had faced Raffi's greed and survived. Now the palace itself seemed to guide them forward, testing their hearts with each step. The air grew cooler and the walls glowed faintly, showing patterns of stars and symbols. Aaron studied them carefully. Each symbol seemed to pulse in response to their thoughts, like the palace could read their minds. He realized the trial was not about strength or skill. It was about choice. Mira stopped and touched one of the glowing symbols. Light spread across the floor, creating a bridge that led into a wide chamber. It is showing us the path, she whispered. We must follow carefully. Thomas hesitated. And if we make a mistake? Aaron shook his head. We have no choice but to be honest with ourselves. The palace is alive. It knows who we are. We cannot hide anything. They entered the chamber. It was enormous, shaped like a circle, with golden pillars rising from the floor to the dome above. In the center was a large platform with 3 sections, each glowing in a different color. Symbols floated above the sections, showing images of humans, stars, and great cities. A low hum filled the air, and then the golden projection appeared again. The Guardian's figure hovered above the platform, eyes glowing softly. This is the trial of humanity, it said. Choose the path of wisdom, of respect, and of courage, and you will rise. Choose the path of greed, of fear, or of pride, and you will fall. The palace watches all. Aaron stepped forward, his eyes scanning the 3 sections. He noticed small differences. One section pulsed gently with patterns that encouraged cooperation. Another glowed sharply, showing images of wealth and power. The third flickered uncertainly, warning of danger and destruction. Mira whispered, It is giving us a choice. Each of us must show our heart. Aaron placed his hand on the section of cooperation and respect. The golden light spread across his body, warm and steady. Symbols floated around him, showing humans building cities, exploring the stars, and working together. He felt a sense of calm and purpose. Mira followed, placing her hand beside Aaron's. The palace responded to her honesty and respect. Light connected their hands, forming a pattern of unity. The Guardian's eyes seemed to shine brighter. Thomas hesitated, looking at the section of wealth. The temptation to take what the palace offered flickered in his mind. But he remembered the warning, and he knew that greed would destroy everything. He took a deep breath and placed his hand with Aaron and Mira. The golden light embraced all 3 of them, connecting their hearts to the palace. Suddenly, the chamber shook slightly and the other sections flared brightly. Shadows appeared along the walls, showing figures of humans who had chosen greed. their faces twisted in anger and despair. Aaron realized these were the visions of those who had failed the trial. The palace did not punish with violence, but with truth. Greed and pride led to ruin, just as the Guardian had warned. The light around Aaron, Mira, and Thomas grew stronger, lifting them slightly above the platform. Symbols of stars and planets swirled around them, showing possible futures. They saw cities of light, humans reaching the stars and worlds working together. Then they saw another path where greed and arrogance led to war and darkness. The Guardian spoke again, voice calm but powerful. "The palace sees your hearts. You have chosen wisely. The lost dynasty entrusted this gift to those who are ready. Remember, knowledge is a tool. Power is a responsibility. The future belongs to those who walk with courage and respect." Aaron felt the weight of the words, and he nodded slowly. "We understand. We will honor the palace and protect its secrets." Mira smiled faintly. "It chose us, but we must continue to prove ourselves. This is only the beginning." Thomas looked around, feeling awe and gratitude. "We came for discovery, but we found responsibility. This trial shows what humanity can be if we are careful." The golden light began to fade, settling into soft glowing veins along the walls. The platform lowered gently, returning them to solid ground. The chamber was quiet again, but the sense of power and life remained. The palace had tested them, and they had passed. Aaron looked at the passage ahead. Another doorway appeared, lined with golden symbols. The palace was guiding them onward, deeper into its heart. They had been chosen not for wealth, but for courage, honesty, and respect. Each step forward would teach them more. Mira took a deep breath and stepped forward. "We face the next trial together. The palace will continue to guide us if we remain worthy." Thomas followed, his nervousness replaced with determination. "We must remember the warning. Greed and pride have no place here." Aaron led the way, placing his hand gently on the walls as they moved. The glowing veins pulsed in response, a silent approval from the palace. They were no longer mere explorers. They were chosen guardians, tasked with understanding and protecting the lost dynasty's legacy. The palace waited for them, ready to reveal more of its secrets. Beyond the next passage lay knowledge, power, and challenges. The trial of humanity was not over, but they had proven they could walk with courage and respect. Above them, the jungle remained quiet, unaware of the living palace below. But deep in the earth, the golden chambers hummed softly, alive and watchful, prepared to test all who dared to enter. Aaron, Mira, and Thomas had passed one trial, but the journey ahead promised even greater discoveries and responsibilities. The final passage opened into a grand chamber. The air was warm and filled with a soft hum that resonated through Aaron, Mira, and Thomas. The walls were lined with golden veins, glowing with a gentle light that seemed to breathe. In the center of the chamber was a circular platform, larger than any they had seen before, covered with symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. Aaron stepped forward slowly. He felt the energy in the room, as if the palace itself was alive and watching. Mira and Thomas followed closely, their eyes wide with awe. This was the heart of the hidden palace. They had passed the trial, and now the palace revealed its greatest secret. From the center of the platform, a column of golden light rose high into the dome. The light formed the figure of the Guardian, taller and brighter than before. Its eyes shone with wisdom and power. "You have walked with respect and courage," the Guardian said. "You have passed the trial of humanity. Now you may see the gift of the lost dynasty." The platform glowed brighter and images filled the chamber. Aaron could see the lost cities of the dynasty, shining in the stars. He saw ships that traveled across the galaxy, humans working alongside beings of gold and light. Knowledge of the stars, mathematics, medicine, and history floated in the air, waiting to be learned. Mira whispered, "All this, it is theirs, left for us to find." The Guardian nodded. "The palace is not treasure to be taken. It is knowledge and wisdom. It is a bridge between your world and the stars. The gold you see is not for wealth, but for understanding. Humanity has the chance to rise if it walks with courage and honor." Tomas stepped closer to the edge of the platform. "And the others? Those who came for greed? What happened to them?" The Guardian's gaze softened. "They were not ready. The palace does not punish with malice, only with truth. Those who seek power without respect will never hold the gift. It waits for those who are worthy." Aaron looked around at the chamber. The knowledge, the golden veins, the energy, it was overwhelming. Yet he understood the choice that lay before him. They could take gold, take power, and risk everything, or they could honor the palace and protect its secrets. He placed his hand on the platform. The golden light spread across his fingers, showing visions of the future. Cities on Earth grew brighter with science. Humans reached the stars, and the lost dynasty's wisdom was honored. Then another vision appeared: greed, war, and destruction. Aaron felt the weight of both futures pressing on him. Mira placed her hand beside his. "We cannot take the gold," she said softly. "We can only learn, protect, and share wisdom carefully." "That is what the palace wants from us," Thomas nodded. "Then we choose the path of respect. That is the way the palace wants us to follow." The guardian's eyes glowed brighter. "You understand? You have chosen wisely. The palace's gift is not gold but guidance. Knowledge will grow through your actions, your choices, and your courage. The legacy of the dynasty belongs to all who are worthy." Suddenly the chamber shifted. A golden doorway appeared on the far side, leading upward. Light streamed through it, showing the path back to the jungle above. Aaron knew it was time to leave. They had learned what the palace wanted them to see. Its secrets were not meant for immediate wealth or fame, but for a future built with responsibility and courage. Arun, Mira, and Thomas stepped toward the doorway. The palace hummed behind them, alive and watchful, ensuring that its legacy would be honored. They glanced back one last time at the golden chamber. It was magnificent, a monument not only to the lost dynasty but to the power of choice and humanity. Outside, the jungle was quiet, the sunlight falling softly on the ruins. They emerged from the temple breathing in fresh air, carrying the knowledge they had gained. Aaron looked at Mira and Thomas. "We have seen the palace. We have felt its heart. Now it is up to us to use what we have learned wisely." Mira smiled, her eyes bright. "We are guardians now, not just explorers." Thomas nodded, feeling a new sense of purpose. "This knowledge is our responsibility. The palace trusted us." Aaron stepped forward, scanning the jungle ahead. "The lost dynasty left this place for a reason. They believed humanity could rise, but only if it walked with courage, honesty, and respect. We must honor that gift every day." As they walked back toward the village, the golden chamber remained sealed below, alive with energy and light. Its secret was safe, waiting for the right time and the right people to continue the legacy of the lost dynasty. Above them, the world continued as usual. But Arun, Mira, and Thomas knew that everything had changed. They had glimpsed a future where humans could reach the stars. Guided not by greed but by wisdom, the palace had chosen them, and through them humanity's true potential would begin to unfold. The jungle seemed quieter now, almost as if it respected the secret beneath. The hidden palace, with its golden walls and living energy, would remain a bridge between Earth and the stars, a reminder that power without wisdom could destroy, but courage, respect, and responsibility could build a new destiny. Aaron looked at the horizon, feeling hope and determination. The lost dynasty had trusted humanity with their greatest treasure, not gold, but knowledge, and humanity, through careful choices and courage, could rise. The palace waited in silence, its legacy secure, and its gift given only to those who proved themselves worthy.